Hello, loves. It is me back again, Shika My'Chelle. The Inspired with Shika My'Chelle Show has come home with me, and Nasir, you are really low. Like, I don't know if I see your face. Come home with me. I have with me, as I told you guys, there was a conversation that I wanted to have that I felt like I really couldn't have by myself, because I felt like there were two other individuals that could shed light on a situation far better than I may be able to. So with me, I have Mr. Monday Motivation with Nas, my son, Nas, and I have my brother, Mr. Still Your Girl, my little brother Elijah, who is not little anymore. For those of you that know me personally, he's no longer a baby. But yesterday, somebody that I'm not really necessarily familiar with his music, but Juice WRLD. Was that the young man's name? Yes. I was like, I am correct, right? But a young artist named Juice WRLD passed away. 21 years old, just made 21 to my understanding last Monday. So a baby, and passed away. And there is yet again another, I really can't see that far, so welcome everybody that is coming on. But a 21-year-old young man that had not even reached his full potential, not even the tip of the iceberg of what he could have been, but has now passed away from a seizure. And as reports now are coming in, I don't think those that are familiar with him are shocked about drug use and alcohol, but they were saying that he allegedly had taken some pills before the flight, and that he had a addiction to some pills, and they found codeine as well. And so if you're not familiar, this has become kind of the norm in music, and unfortunately life imitates art, and our youth, this generation, I discussed accountability in the last video, and how we have to be accountable whether we want to be role models or not. It is important for us to be deliberate in what it is that we are teaching this generation. Is that Jamal?
Yeah.
Everybody say hi to Jamal. You should be here in this conversation, but thank you for tuning in. But Nas and I have conversations like this all the time. He actually texted me yesterday while I was in church to tell me about it, and my heart sunk. And not because I really know his music or really know much about him, but as a mom, I can't read that. What is it? You can't read it either. Nobody can see. Everybody's blind.
Hey y'all.
Oh. So for me as a mom, it has always been important, and a big sister. It's always been important for me to have conversations, real conversations. And I just wanted to get their take on what's happening. Nas is a little younger than you, but in your generation, it seems to be the norm. Drugs and alcohol and codeine and all this stuff has become the norm in your generation. So I just want to, I'm gonna throw, he's like, don't talk to me first, but you know, Nas, because this is a conversation that we did have a little bit yesterday, so
Wonderful.
I just want to get your take on your thoughts.
Well, I don't even know how to start that off.
Wherever you choose.
I just know we talked about on the stuff that he was on, and it's kind of like, for a lot of these kids, it's not something they're not used to. Some kids grow up around that kind of stuff, and I think he's from Chicago, so I'm sure I don't know his circumstances, maybe he did grow up around it, but you know, you're kind of, to get in the industry, you know, some of these, I'm sure some of these managers kind of promise that this is what you need to do to get popular, to get notoriety, to get the money, to get whatever these kids are searching for. You know, they kind of say, well, you need to consume these drugs or whatever it is
to look the part.
Yeah, to be popular like these other guys that are in that same position. And clearly it doesn't pay off in the end.
Yeah, I think for myself, I don't know if it's as much their managers as the artists that came before them. This is what they're promoting. I think my generation, I came up with the Jay-Z's and the for me it was more about storytelling, not glorifying. And this generation, it's about the glorification of doing drugs, of drinking, of having sex with multiple women, however many women as you can, and the level of disrespect it baffles me. So, Laj, you're a little older than Nas. So you can give me your take on, like, how do you feel about the whole situation?
Well, I'm 23, about to be 24. So a lot of the rappers currently are like around my age. And basically piggybacking off of what he said, some people are in situations where this thing is placed in front of them. I feel like it becomes a product of what we watch. Me growing up, like you mentioned, you grew up around rappers like Jay-Z, Nas, a little bit more influential rappers who did a lot of storytelling. Where my part of me growing up, we heard a lot of Lil Wayne or something, that's not added up to the pedestal of a Jay-Z or someone that can influence you to get out of that. Even though they went through something around that rough area, they built their way out of that. A lot of the artists now, I feel, are like grandchildren to Lil Wayne because they have watched, like, believe it or not, Lil Wayne was, we all know that he took over the game for a long time, really and while taking over the game, he did a lot of things that are now detrimental to his health. We see how he looks now, and all the seizures and just health problems, and I just think that that's what a lot of these artists nowadays are growing up on. That's becoming the trend. I personally never did any of this. Like, I've never touched any type of pill or drank lean, or just things that I feel like too hardcore on the body. Because
I
you gotta take care.
Can go on record and say that I would personally kill him. Both of them know that about me.
Don't worry about me.
Yeah, I think that for me as a parent, some of these things. Thank you guys for joining. I really am trying to see the screen, but hey family, how are you? Trying to see, but the screen and the light is in. But as a parent, I think that it is important because I feel like before someone can influence your child to do other things, you are the first source. You are their first role model. Like, you should be that person that they look at and say they want to mirror in some way. So I think that before it gets to wanting, fame and fortune and following a celebrity and trying to mirror what it is that they've already done, I think that as a parent, your first job is for you to teach your children. And I'm not a perfect parent by any means, but one thing that I've always been serious about is ensuring that the line of communication between Nasir and I stays open, where he could talk to me about things that I can't see what Jamal's saying, where he can talk to me about anything, even things that I don't want to hear. He'll tell you firsthand that, we have conversations about things that his friends say, I can't believe that you told your mother about that. But before it gets there, our responsibility is to influence our children, and that's my issue. I don't know his parents. I'm not questioning whether or not they did a great job. At some point, you can raise your kids up and they can be amazing individuals, and then you send them off into the world and peer pressure, and you know, if they are not strong in their stance, you know, peer pressure will get the best of you. I can
fear of loss. Feel like you're missing out.
Jamal, text me whatever you're writing on the screen. Text me so that I can actually see it, because I can't read the screen. He just wrote 2 different things. Oh yeah, look, Nas, that's it on the screen.
No, but you want me to?
You can, if you scroll, you can see what he wrote.
See, I don't wanna.
Yeah, what did he say?
Crap, I can't read that. Golly.
It's just like, I know.
I think this industry has a lot to do with what these kids partake in. They portray it to make it look cool, and it becomes peer pressure. Exactly.
Very true. Very
then,
true.
So if you're out of the norm, then you're weird or you're not cool. It's truly sad.
Well, if you feel like you're weird and you're not in the norm, and you don't follow that, and you don't want to drink, and you don't want to smoke, and you want to live life right, and you believe in peace, love, and positivity, I would just say that if you have Instagram, you have a friend in this one. Follow at Nas Colleen, Naas. Put some respect on his other A, please. Naas. Colleen, that is Mr. Monday Motivation right there. And you know, not because he's my son. Let me be clear. I say this all the time. I am so proud of both of these young men. If you know my little brother, you know that he just experienced the loss of his mom. She's been gone almost 2 months.
October.
Okay, almost 2 months. And instead of him falling apart and acting a complete fool, here he is on my couch. you know. But it's one thing about me. I'm not a perfect person, but whether it be my little cousins, I don't have any. I'm my mother's only child that she birthed. But one thing that I can say is I have always carried on my shoulders, ensuring that the way that I walk is in a manner that they can be proud of, that they can look at and say, okay, I kind of wanna do that. Like with Nas, I remember when you were smaller and I was doing music, and I refused to do music that he couldn't bop to, because I felt like I was his role model. Like, I needed to make sure that the things that I put out, the things that I say, the things that I do were reflective of who it is that I wanted him to be, and who, you know, I should want to be as a person. When Elijah was a little younger, I remember somebody was, you know, trying to break into singing, and he made me cry one day, because I remember he told me that he wanted to be like me, and I thought that it was one of the most humbling things that somebody could tell you. Not because I'm perfect, you know, because I am a little strict, you know, in some areas, in some areas I am a little strict, a little more laid back in other areas, but because I believe so much in them and the call on their life and who they are destined to be, if I'm not hard on them, and if I don't apply pressure in places that pressure needs to be applied, then who's to say that they won't now fall victim to the peer pressures and the stresses of the world? If he went into the industry and somebody was now offering him a multi-million-dollar contract, and he's hanging around with a bunch of celebrities that are doing drugs and drinking lean, is he gonna be strong enough in who he is to say no? And I love the fact that you two are unapologetically yourselves. You're not trying to portray you know, what it is that you listen to a lot of stuff, both of you.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I mean, this is Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
You know, Nas listens to everything. He listens to Johnny Cash and all sorts of stuff. But I love the fact that regardless of what's going on in the world, he has not changed the core of who he is. And yeah, I'm just gonna ask you, how do you maintain that? Like, how do you not fall victim to peer pressure and maintain that that persona, that Nasir-ism that is?
It's just, I don't think it's cool to be someone you're not. I've never wanted to be anyone but myself. Though when I was younger, maybe a little bit, but I always stayed true to who I was. As growing up around certain things and seeing the impact of drugs, alcohol, and all that kind of stuff, it's you kind of see what to do, what not to do. So like obviously from a young age, I knew what I didn't want to do. You know, I knew I didn't want to drink. I knew I didn't want to smoke, do drugs, or any of that. So I've stuck to that moral. Just situations and environment and all that kind of stuff kind of contributes to becoming who you are. And that's not just me, that's everyone. So.
Mr. Wait, is it still Monday?
It is.
Mr. Motivational Monday motivation has just taken over. Well, Elijah, I'm going to ask you the same question. Like, what has kept you grounded? You know, you're 23, and like I said, none of us are perfect. But you're 23, and the things that you may choose to indulge in are not the things that I don't think any of us have never indulged in. But the reality is, in the core of who you are, the essence of who you are, you've never really gone too far to the left. So what is it about what's embedded in you that has made you stay grounded in?
I think just boundaries. Also growing up early. Like I lost my dad when I was only like 15, 16. So having to grow up a little bit faster and take care of my mom and my sister in the house, it put stress on me, but I wasn't looking for relief in like such exotic things where I would lose course. Also, growing up in Wyandanch, not taking a shot against Wyandanch because I love Wyandanch.
Yeah.
But just seeing
we are warriors.
Yeah.
Wyandanch to the death of me. Let's be clear.
But you know, just especially when I went to that school in my 12th grade year, and it was just a lot. Like that was a moment where I felt like I took another turn in life.
It was a shell shock.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I went from private school to boom, right into public school, and being around people who I always lived with, always thought I could relate with, but never really did until I got there. So when I got there, I firsthand started to kind of experience and feel the world and how society looked at all of us. Because now it's like, even though I never thought I was any different or any better because I didn't go to certain schools, but there's just a certain bug that they put in your ear when you're not in those type of schools, that they say, oh, you have the opportunity. They use those type of words, or you're lucky enough, or you should be more than thankful. Just things like that that make you feel like your situation is better, but wherever you put yourself is how you can succeed. Because I didn't graduate from St. John's, but I went to St. John the Baptist, you know, and it's like, it's just really me growing up, seeing different sides of the world, seeing what can happen when you're not focused, seeing what can happen when you are focused, and just making that decision of which one you want to be, and starting to diagnose things that will hinder that journey really, and get that out the way. And once you get out the way, life will just course on. And if you live life and you learn, because life is going to get crazy and you can't really stop it from happening. You got to just adjust, because life is all about lessons. And if you don't learn lessons, you're not living life.
Amen. And you know, it's so funny. I was going to, because when you talked about how you left from St. John's and then went into Wyandanch, which was a shell shock because it was something completely different. I know that Nas can probably relate to that because he had the reverse effect where, you know, he started in Wyandanch and then was then thrown into Half Hollow Hills, which is a completely different ball game. So like Nas, you can if you want to piggyback off of Elijah, because I know that was something that affected you. You know, so you can, you know,
it's
take
just,
that over.
it was a different world, no pun intended. Going from Wyandanch to Half Hollow, it's like in Half Hollow everything's like catered to you if you're of the right, you know, right, because you know the right people, whatever. But it's catered to you. You know, you can accomplish anything, you can do anything. You know, like you said, and like you said, the voice in the ear, the bug in the ear, whatever. Yeah, it's just you just gotta know the people. I felt like being in Half Hollow, and like I don't know if I can't even word it.
Yeah, he's trying to be. He's trying to be politically correct.
Trying to be politically.
He's really trying to be politically correct. Knowing my son, I know he's trying to be politically correct. The reality is, you come from a place where, you know, for him, I'll speak on your behalf a little bit, and you can. He came from Wyandanch, where he was the big man on campus, because my mom worked in the school district and I worked in the school district. So he was the big man on campus. He would come in with us. We had both worked in the same school at that time. So he would come in with us to school in the mornings, and we had a village. You know, he would be off with the custodians. He would be in the cafeteria. Like, he would be everywhere. The kids would walk him to class. Like, it was a family. And he was being nurtured and being loved. Like, everybody loved him. He was always with someone. You know, you knew that he was safe and he was being taken care of. And then he was thrown into Half Hollow Hills, where it's a completely, like he said, a different world, where he didn't know anybody really. And now he had to find his identity in that place now. Whereas you were so sure of who you were, and now everything that you thought you knew was kind of like no longer.
It's like I was being catered to in Wyandanch. It's like whatever I wanted, I kind of got for the most part. And then you go to Half Hollow, and it's like I'm no longer that big fish. I'm small. I'm a tadpole amongst bigger fish, so to speak. Yeah. It was definitely
a situation. What I can say is, one of the things that I love about you guys is you both had experienced such loss at such a young age. And I think this is why I can be compassionate and understanding to things that other people go through. But when I know what my little brother walked through, and I know what my son has walked through, and the type of death that they've had to experience at such a young age, it is part of the reason why I don't believe in excuses. Because I feel like you have choices. Now here it is. Your environment also plays a major part. I'm not patting myself on the back as a mom, but I don't know if I was not who I am, he would be who he is after all he experienced. You know, because say I was a mom that was getting high and drinking all the time, can I really give you what you need from me while you're going through a grieving process? Can I really give that to you? Because right now I'm only focused on, you know, trying to numb my pain. So I can't give you the love that you need and the attention that you need to help you cope with what it is that you're faced with. So those do play a major part in, you know, development. But in knowing that at 23 and 20, they have walked a life where things were not easy. And they are becoming such amazing young men that are role models in your own. And I think that having had gone through the things that you guys have gone through allows you to be able to pour into someone else. It allows you to then look at, you know, somebody for you. You created Monday Motivation, where that wasn't something that I pushed on him because I had my own platform. That was something that he woke up one day and he was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. No, I don't want your help. I don't need your advice. Like, just shh and let me do me. And that's what he does. I don't get a preview to Monday Motivation. It pops up on my newsfeed just like everybody else. And, you know, to be his mom and to witness him coming into his own, you know, despite struggles that he may have on a day-to-day basis. I mean, like, when you have experienced such grief, I don't think that there's not a day that something doesn't go through your head where you don't miss or don't think about what you've lost and whom you've lost and how your life has changed in such a crazy manner. I don't think that people really get it until you walk through it. How life changes, and now you have to adjust. And adjusting is hard, you know, because it's a new normal. And for us, like, we had to adjust and then readjust. And we're going to adjust again and wait.
There's one more adjustment.
One more adjustment. So it is my prayer that we are done adjusting for now. We don't question you, Lord. I mean, but you know, a little break here. But it was just on my heart as I was live. Those of you that have just logged in, you probably have seen that I was live prior to this, where I discussed tomorrow's show, Inspired with Shika My'Chelle Show, 3 o'clock, right here on Facebook, Church Talk Radio, where I will have Eric Jarvis, I will have Vicel Moore, as well as Renita Certain sitting down with me, discussing community things and how we need to really come together as a community. And this is one of the things that I would really like to bring to the forefront tomorrow, to see how we as a community, as community activists, we go hard for our communities, we go hard for the youth, and not for show, but because we really genuinely love what we do, and love being able to be of service to people. But I think that this generation has lost so many rappers in such a short time that it's something, and it's something that we've never like really experienced, possibly with the exception of Pac and Big.
When I was a child.
Yeah, you know, but this generation, we need them to wake up, and we need to help wake them up, because they are so lost and they are in a dark place, and there is so much good in them. I sit in Wyandanch High School every single day, and I come home with stories every single day. But when I see the need, but then I see that there is light. So I try to be a person that is that Mark? Hey, what he say? I can't see it. But hey, Mark.
Peace, yo.
Oh.
Peace,
Bye, Mark.
Hey, welcome. He's so stupid. Welcome, you guys. But we have to really be intentional about committing ourselves to being a part of the solution. We have so many artists right now that are out that I don't want to take anything away from artistry. But I think that we are being reckless in the things that we are saying, the things that we are putting out, and us as parents, we can't monitor everything that our kids do. And everything that they listen to and what they're watching. We can't be everywhere. But we have to be deliberate in opening up a line of communication with our kids. But also, one thing that Naz and I was discussing yesterday was actually wanting to find a solution. You good?
Yeah.
Throat dry? Where's your soda? A little parched? Yeah, drink that. It's okay. No, you black. Don't you spit that on my couch. That was real. That was real. You know. Yeah. Fruit punch. Though. Yeah. But Lord, I lost it as I was laughing at your thing.
Yesterday, what we were talking about.
Thank you for keeping us on track. Yesterday, him and I were talking about how we can come together to find solutions to this problem. The drugs, the alcohol, like how can we create different outlets where it's cool to be sober. You know, where it's cool to just be yourself. Drugs and alcohol are killing our children at an alarming rate. It is killing communities. It is breaking apart families, you know, and we have our babies that are paying attention to this music, and as artists, they're not being responsible. Nobody wants to be a role model. You want the money, you want the fame, you want the fortune, but you don't want to be responsible or held accountable for the things that you put out. I believe in freedom of speech, but I also believe that we have to be accountable for the things that we say. If it is not your desire to be a role model, then stay on mute. Do music from the privacy of your own home and just rap to your friends. Because when you get thrown into a limelight, whether it be as a celebrity or whether it be on a local level, whether you have a nonprofit, whether you are a business owner, whether you are a teacher, whether you're just working in school, whatever, you can be a janitor. You need to be intentional about making sure that there is purpose in your life, making sure that you are intentional to being a blessing to somebody's life, because what we put out there can make or break this generation. If we are accountable, and you see I just got real passionate about what I was saying, but we have to be accountable, because if we're not, we're watching young kids die, kill themselves every single day, and we're just sitting back like, well, that's not my responsibility. Well, whose responsibility is it? Because when I came up, it was a village. It took a village. And now everybody wants to turn a blind eye and not be responsible or held accountable, like that's not my child. But what you don't realize is what your child does influences the life of other children. You know, so those are just my thoughts. I wanted to get them in here. If you have not watched this from the beginning, I ask that you do watch this back from the beginning. If you have children, I ask that you sit down and have this conversation with your kids. Hopefully this will open up a dialogue for you to have a conversation with your kids. For you to ask them questions about the artists that they're listening to. And you may learn something. I can say, I remember this before X passed. Naz and I were in the mall, and I was being the mom that my mom was. You know, that judgmental mom that's like, you know, oh, I can't believe you listen to this type of music. And, you know, it's like, oh, whatever. But I remember we were having a conversation in the food court about X. And I asked you, I don't know what was happening at the time, but I asked you, like, oh, he has fans? Or something like that. And you was like, yeah, Mom. And you're telling me that, about who he, what? Mark, I can't see what you're saying. I don't have my glasses on yet.
A lot of it is because, it's caused by depression, I guess. So people use it as an outlet for healing, and it's not the way.
Very true. But that goes back to hold on. Let's I'm going to address that absolutely. Depression, mental health, it is real. But in African American communities, we feel like, what are you depressed for? Shut up, get over it, you know. And that is a part of the problem. That is why suicide has become as the norm, because they need an outlet. I remember when Naz was in school, I didn't think, because I didn't know anything about cutting. That wasn't my generation, or it wasn't something that was discussed, so it wasn't something that we knew about. But I didn't realize that was a thing. But it is very real. So you're right, Mark. Depression is a part of the problem. But again, that is why those of us that have answered the call have to be deliberate in walking in the manner that we walk in. You know, we have to take the time out that when we see something, you know, we're not judging, but we take a minute to say, you know what, how can I maybe help this situation or make this better? Have a conversation, because sometimes really all it takes is a conversation when you feel like somebody actually cares about what you're going through. You know, I remember somebody, I'm not going to point them out. I won't point them out. Maybe they'll speak up for themselves once I say this, but I remember a few weeks ago I was having a conversation, and we were talking about how when you're going through something, people ask you, well, how you feeling? You know, and it's, yeah, somebody said, you know, the reality is when you ask somebody how they're feeling and you know that they're grieving, you really 75-80% of the time don't really care.
Yeah.
You really want to hear them say, I'm good. You know, you really don't want to hear what, Nas?
You know what's crazy? You're saying this and I'm like, wait, is she talking about me? Or is she talking about him?
It was you that said it.
Yeah.
You know, people don't want to hear you say,
keep it PG.
I want to. Okay, well, I'll say it. I'll say it for you.
Well, you know, I'll say it. I ain't got a problem.
Okay, well, you say it. He's like, but I don't want to say it.
Can I curse on you?
No, you cannot curse. You
cannot
can't curse, period.
Oh.
Jeez, Louise.
I know, I don't curse.
He's like, can I curse? So you really just want to...
No.
Lord
Well,
have mercy.
people don't want to hear how you're really doing. They really just want to hear it in short. They just want to hear you say, oh, I'm good, or I'm okay, or something like that. They don't want to hear the, well, my cat just died.
Yeah.
Grandma got run over by the reindeer. they don't want...
Santa Claus is not coming to town.
Right. Yeah. Stuck in the chimney.
Yeah. You know, they don't want to... The truth is, when you are grieving, and especially... the loss of a parent, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a child, not taken away from anything else, but when you are grieving, the reality is you do go through moments of depression. And even somebody with super sane strength and super sane faith, unwavering faith, you still are human. And they don't want to hear, you know, I really don't want to be here anymore. Like, I really feel like I don't have purpose. Like, I really feel like, you know, my life is in shambles and I really don't know where to go from here. Like, they don't want to hear that I'm depressed and I don't want to get out the bed. They don't want to hear like, you know, some days I want to jump off the roof and just be done with it all. They don't want to hear that. But the reality is sometimes you need to hear that, because sometimes by somebody being able to be honest enough with you to say, look, I'm struggling with this, it will help somebody. You can save a life, because when somebody can be honest and transparent in the midst of their grief, in the midst of their pain, you can help them come up out of that depression, because now they realize that somebody really cares. And after I told you, I don't want to eat, I don't want to get out of the bed, I ain't combed my hair in 3 weeks. You know, after, you know, you like, my breath stink because I ain't brushed my teeth in about 2 weeks. And, you know, like, I mean, because this is the reality, you know. Maybe not 2 weeks. I'm being a little extreme here.
Facetious, right?
Yeah, I'm being a little extreme here. But that is the truth about that. So, Mark, I thank you for bringing that topic up, because mental health is a part of the problem. Depression is a part of the problem. But that is why there needs to be people accountable. I believe that in the industry, that when these younger artists come in, I believe they need an advocate. I believe that they need somebody that is clean, that they can trust, that is around them for the right reasons, and that will keep them on the right path, because, you know, music is their passion. Most of these kids are trying to get out of the hood. They want to be able to take care of, you know, their families, which I think is every kid's dream, is really wanting to grow up to be able to be in a position to take care of, you know, their parents. But we also have never... We may not have had everything that we wanted, but we had everything we needed. When you're looking at some of these kids, they're coming from, you know, different environments where they might not have had lights for a minute, or may be hungry, or there may be abuse in the home. We don't know the environments that they're coming from, but it's a beautiful thing to watch them pursue their dreams and realize that dream. But it's sad to watch and see that, and having realized their dream and being blessed beyond measure, the downside of that is addiction. The downside of that is, you know, depression, is you know, feeling alone and being fake in some ways, putting on a facade, this image of what is cool. So unfortunately that comes with what it is that celebrity is. You're under the microscope at all times, and now social media is so major that you get the good and the bad. You can be the best artist in the world, and guess what? There's still going to be somebody on social media telling you to kill yourself.
Yeah.
What happens if you're not equipped to deal with that? Because nobody is prepared to go from being on welfare to being a multimillionaire. As an adult, you're not prepared. So imagine you're 19, 18, 21.
Nowadays, even younger than that.
Yeah. And now you're thrust into the limelight. You don't even know who you are yet. Mm-hmm. Somebody has just packaged you up and said, here, take the gold chain. Going out there, here goes a few...
Color your hair.
Yeah. Color your hair. Definitely. Gotta color your hair. Gotta color your hair. Gotta have bling. Rented cars.
Tattoos.
Tattoos. Yeah.
Face tattoos.
Face tattoos is a must now.
No more business meetings. We're just gonna tat our
we're just gonna tat our faces and pray that you take us seriously. But that's what I was having a conversation about. Tattoo face. Boom. X. Bring it back.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, wait. This is why it's important to not be judgmental and to have a conversation. Have conversations with your kids, because who they listen to is not who we listen to, except for if you're me, because I listen to everything. I am saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost, but I am not too cool to still dance around the house with my family. But we were having a conversation, I remember, in a food court at the mall, and I was asking you about this person, and you were telling me about him being an advocate for depression. Was that what it was?
I think mental health, yeah.
Mental health. And you were talking about some of his songs and how he was an advocate for that. And for me, because I have a relationship with my son where we can communicate, it opened my...
You hate to see it. You love to see it now.
Okay, I was about to say, sorry, y'all. I didn't do that. That was Facebook acting funny. But we're going to close this in a minute. But if you have not watched this from the beginning, I ask that you do watch this from the beginning. As I stressed before, watch this from the beginning. Share this with your friends and your family. If you are somebody that works with children, if you have children, this may be a conversation starter for you and your children. Is that KB? Will Gardner. I see Renee's on too. This may be, you might want to, it says in 10 minutes, you might want to touch that. You might want to touch that. But it may be a conversation starter for you. That
worked though.
It may be a conversation starter for you and, your children. The children that you've been blessed to push out, and the children that you are influencing. Mental health is real. Depression is real. The addiction to drugs and alcohol in this generation is so real. And I know some people are like, well, I came from crack cocaine era. That wasn't my reality. But I get it. But it is important for us to take back our communities and to really be the light. I pray that anybody that is watching that does music, that you are a little more conscious of what you're putting out, and that you take your role, whether you want it to be a role model or not, that you understand that by answering that call and by signing on that dotted line, you did in some ways become a role model. And there are young children that are battling the same depression that you're battling, that are confused and lonely and don't feel like they have a real place in the world, that are insecure, and they mirror you, and they're watching you. And I pray to God that something that was being said, and this is why I couldn't do this video by myself when I did the live prior to this. I could not do this video by myself. I had to cut it short. I discussed Lizzo by myself. You want to know my thoughts? Watch the previous live. I also promoted tomorrow's show, but it was important for me while I had these two in the house together, because it's a conversation. You and I talked a little bit earlier about some things, about left and right, and Naz and I had a conversation yesterday about Juice WRLD is a part of the topic that we discussed. You know, the recent death of this young man who had just turned 21 last Monday, just turned 21, and now is dead from having a seizure. And allegedly, there was pills as well as codeine. So, you know, in discussing addiction. So please play this back from the beginning. Share your thoughts. We can have conversation. I am open to anybody that wants to. In January, I'm opening up my show, Inspired with Shika My'Chelle Show, Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Right here, Facebook, Church Talk Radio. I do go live as well on this particular page because I love behind the scenes. I love for you guys to see what we talk about and how we are before we go on air. So I do try to do that. But I hope that the conversation that we had inspired someone. No pun intended, and no plug here. But I hope that you were inspired. I forgot I had the hat on. Oh, inspired by Shika My'Chelle. Oh, and that you are all beautiful and unique.
That's what I call a trifecta.
But no, seriously, please watch the video, share the video, have a conversation with the youth in your life, and really care about when you ask the question about how they are. Dig a little deeper and really listen to what it is that they have to say, because you could be that thing that changes something in their life for the better. So we're gonna end this because he was playing video games and I'm interrupting his game, but I thank God for them agreeing to come on and no, let me touch you, sorry. I thank God for them coming on and agreeing to do this. And they oftentimes get thrown into things. When mommy and big sis has answered a call and they know I take what I do very seriously. And I just love people. I genuinely love to be able to help. Wherever I'm needed, to be able to pour into somebody and in some way be able to change a life. I know what it's like to feel like nobody cares and be the outcast and feel like you don't really fit in. But the reality is you weren't born to fit in. You were created to stand out. And in my adult life, I understand that and I embrace that, and that's what we do here. So thank you guys for watching. We are going to end this video. And yeah, that part. So thank you, Elisha and Nasir. Oh, before we end this, it is Monday. And if you have not, and you are on Instagram, and you need to be motivated,
Yeah.
at
Nas Khalim, and 2 A's S KAL 2 E's M on Instagram.
On Instagram, follow him. His Monday motivation is up now. I have not shared it yet. Do not beat me up. I'm gonna get on it. If you know, Nas, you have adults that approach your mom in all sorts of places. Like they really approach me in the darndest places and in the darndest ways to talk about Monday motivation and what it is that it does for them as adults. So never feel like what it is that you're producing, what it is that you're doing, that people are not watching. Your generation may not be getting it, but maybe they're not getting it because they're high and drunk. And that's okay, because we are going to save those lives. But those that are not, you are getting through to people. You are helping to heal grown adults that are 2 and 3 times your age, by just the words that you say. And everything that he says are his thoughts. They are completely his thoughts, and he comes up with everything himself. So if he has been a blessing to you, please follow him on Instagram and give him a shout out. Share his Monday motivations to keep peace, love, and positivity
spread
flowing.
The peace, love, and positivity. Always.
Always. So we thank you for tuning in. We are ending this, and God bless you. And whoever, I can't see that, but we are ending this. So please watch us from the beginning so that you can know what it is that we're even talking about. Good night.